Halo Infinite got a new trailer during E3 in the form of a cutscene, as confirmed by games director Chris Lee, who has a long history with the series. Other YouTubers have already done their breakdowns of the trailer, but in the hopes of maybe putting my own stamp on things, I want to focus on things that meant a lot to me as a fan of the series who didn't personally enjoy the identity Halo adopted with the Reclaimer saga. Every year or so, around September, I do my annual pilgrimage to Seattle for PAX West, and while PAX is cool and all, I'm more excited to see 343 and talk to the developers and friends I've made there. I've had long talks with the developers about the things I read in my comments section and the personal messages I get on Twitter and Facebook, the grievances or issues that people have had with the series since Halo 4. Halo Infinite is a game that 343's been cooking for a while. This is the culmination of the feedback they've gotten about the series. While the Reclaimer saga may be done, Halo Infinite will be a new start for the series. Here's an excerpt from Halo Waypoint. We are building what we internally refer to as a spiritual reboot. A game with a vision set firmly in the future, but a foundation rooted deeply in the things our team and our fans have fallen in love with. The scope, the scale, the heroism, and the moments of spectacle and wonder that brought players together on couches at basement LAN parties, on Xbox Live, and in sports arenas for years. The stories of shared adventure and individual discovery that made the first Halo game such a defining moment for millions of gamers and helped chart the course for countless FPS games ever since. We want to recapture that sense of awe and delighted surprise, and the right way to do that is to lean into the things that are already magical and build outward from there. The Master Chief is our hero, and Halo Infinite will continue his decades-long saga. While we plan to introduce important new characters like the resilient pilot you already met in the video, this story is the Master Chief's. The universe will continue the continuity of Halo 5, and in that sense contain the adventures that led up to this moment, but in the pursuit of our spiritual reboot and the launch of a new console, we also want to make sure that this is a perfect starting point for new players as well. This story will mark the beginning of a new chapter and challenge for the Chief, and it will also respect and continue threads that led up to this point. If you've never played a Halo game before, this will be a great place to jump into the story. You're arriving in the middle of a universe at war, with a sense of history underlying your entry into the world, but it will also feel fresh, full of potential and new adventure. We will weave in context and guideposts to understand your place in the new universe, but if you've invested in Halo for all these years, you'll feel immediately at home, and some of our story moments will spark a different resonance for your investment. And with us getting our first glimpse at the beginning of Halo Infinite, let's see what the cutscene tells us. Hope is a theme that runs strong in Halo's universe. The very first game starts with humanity's last line of defense outgunned and on the run. With nowhere left to flee, the UNSC's final hope is woken up, the Master Chief. Since that game, Chief has gone on to become a flag for humanity to rally behind, a beacon to cut through the darkness. His tall frame, green color, and iconic armor inspires hope in humanity, in a similar way to the red of Superman's cape. The cutscene begins with the pilot of a Pelican in the middle of a battle or fleeing from something, frantically rushing around to fix his ship. He knocks over a box of tools and hits his head on the floor, becoming dazed, but being brought out of it by a recording of his family. The battery is green, but as we watch the cutscene, the interior of the Pelican ages and becomes darker and dustier. The pilot has a beard now, he looks malnourished, his eyes are puffy and red from tears, and he's exhausted both physically and emotionally. He's been here for months on this Pelican, with only the recording of his loved ones keeping him going. And right before the battery of his recording runs out forever, he silently mouths goodbye to his wife and child. Now, it's just him, alone, until the cold ends him, or he ends himself. When his Pelican systems inform him of a friendly UNSC tag outside, he might not even believe he heard it correctly, until it happens again. This isn't a joke. Something's out there. His eyes light up and he sprints to the controls and begins frantically calling for help. Confused that no one's responding, he tries to get a better look, clearing the frost from the window to reveal hope. Master Chief is brought on board, his suit locked up to protect him from whatever left him floating in space. The pilot gets ready to make use of whatever juice his Pelican has left to power the Chief's suit back online. The pilot's been stranded in space for who knows how long, and like a real-life superhero, the Master Chief is here to save him, but only if the pilot can wake him up. The suit begins unlocking. It creates a feedback loop which restores power to the rest of the Pelican, and the reviving super soldier inside begins coming online, and the pilot begins laughing uncontrollably from the emotions. The Master Chief is gonna save him. As Chief begins loosening up, he inserts a familiar AI chip into the back of his helmet, and then we see these curious words appear on the screen. Weapon containment device inserted. AI not detected. Now see, this is interesting because Chief's armor appears to be using something called Spider. Spider is a program that protects and heals damaged AIs, so we're gonna get back to that in a second. The theory in the community is that Cortana's chip might have been redesigned as a kind of containment unit, and Chief's mission was to capture her and, like an actual trapdoor spider, surprise her. Chief begins moving and instantly wants to know the status of the war that's been going on, and the pilot seems genuinely baffled by the question. Chief doesn't know. Chief walks up to the cockpit and gets a view at a battle-ridden and damaged Zeta Halo. He tells Chief, We lost everything. Maybe the plan to trap Cortana failed, and the ensuing battle destroyed a chunk of the ring? It's too early to tell what's going on, but lots of questions are being set up, and we'll presumably be uncovering the answers to those questions as the story unfolds, which strengthens Frank O'Connor's comparisons to Combat Evolved's use of mystery as a way to drive player exploration. As a mysterious energy hits the Pelican, the pilot begins panicking. Not them. He screams in terror as Chief's posture changes and he begins arming himself. Chief grabs the panicking pilot and moves him into the cockpit for safety as the pilot begs him to run, something the Infinity did at the end of Halo 5. And almost as if a direct response to Halo 5, Chief says,
We need to run!
No, we need to fight.
At the end of the cutscene, we see a control room designed more like the original trilogy's Forerunner art style, with a voiceover from Cortana talking about their meeting all those years ago. In my opinion, something sounds kind of weird about her voiceover here. Almost like a, no, remember the good times we had, remember don't make a promise? It's like she's begging him not to kill her or something? I don't know, this voice line is kind of out of context, so I don't really know what this is supposed to mean, but I guess we'll find out. As you guys probably remember, I was pretty harsh in my criticisms of the opening cutscene of Halo 5. It was one long, unbroken shot similar to this one, only I found the Halo 5 one to be very unfocused, loud, clunky, and a weirdly poor way to introduce new characters and get the story rolling. It was pretty hard to follow. This cutscene is also one long, unbroken shot, but due to the slower pace, more clever and subtle uses of visual storytelling and cinematography, I found this cutscene overall to be much easier to follow, and I was completely on board with the story by the time it was over. The pacing, the sense of hope, and the adventure oozes classic Halo, and it brought me back to the days of cheering during a Warthog run or clapping when Chief drops a one-liner. This is pure, unfiltered Halo to me, and I can't wait to see more. The word iconic is a bit of a meme in the Halo community, but it's kind of an appropriate one to use when discussing Halo. The silhouette of the Halo universe is a very unique and recognizable one. The mix of monastic and religious-inspired imagery, merged with the sort of 80s military but in outer space look that accompanies the UNSC, all converged around the sprawling circuitry cathedral-style designs of the ancient Forerunners that vanished thousands of years ago. Nostalgia occurs when you remember something you had an emotional connection to, and nostalgia is something that all of us humans have for something. It's a way for the mind to temporarily forget about stress and return itself emotionally to a simpler time in life. It's the reason why as adults we turn our head when we think we hear the theme song of an old cartoon we used to watch, or smile when we find a box of toys we used to play with in storage. Watching the Discover Hope cutscene for Halo Infinite filled me with an overwhelming wave of nostalgia. It hit me like a train. There's something truly artistic about the way the animators and the artists pulled on these old motifs and designs and themes to inform these new events and make me feel connected to them like I did as a child to Halo Combat Evolved. As an example, when the Pelican is attacked by an unknown force, there's a remix of music that plays in the first level of Combat Evolved. Your mind remembers this piece of music, and while you may not initially notice it when watching, it inspires a similar sense of adventure within you as an adult. Or how about people's response to the energy shield recharge sound effect? All across social media, subtle things in this cutscene affected people in different ways, such as the helmet of the Marine pilot looking a bit more like the helmets of old, or the armor of the Master Chief, which is designed to incorporate many different eras within him. From the back, you can see a bit of Halo 4. From the front, you can see a bit of Halo 3. Even some saw Combat Evolved in there, and of course there's even parts of armors from the expanded universe. The Master Chief is more than a simple green stormtrooper for a shooty game. He's a gaming icon with a frame and a presence that stood tall and proud for almost 2 decades. When I think of the designs of a modern Halo game, this is what I was hoping for. Something that doesn't forget the past and ditch it, but build upon it and forge something new that will pull us fans along for the ride. Even the music is more immediately recognizable as Halo music. I'm incredibly happy with 343's new direction for Halo Infinite, and how receptive they were to our feedback over the years on the Reclaimer saga. Now that's not to say that some people aren't disappointed to see the Reclaimer saga end, but a criticism that I hear from a lot of people about the change to more traditional Halo that I don't necessarily agree with is that 343 is abandoning their vision and what separated themselves from Bungie. And in response to that, I guess I'd like to bring up a conversation that I had with the art director of 343, Sparth. I caught him in the lobby of the studio last year during PAX, and we kind of engaged in a personal conversation about our feelings towards the franchise. He told me something really interesting in his personal opinion. Bungie was just one studio that handled Halo. You had various authors, developers, and storytellers behind the series. It wasn't just one group of people. Halo has a long history of being taken care of by various different groups of people, not just Bungie. 343 doesn't have a duty to separate themselves, because Halo is Halo at the end of the day, and making a Halo game that's true to itself is what allows it to thrive under so many different developers over the years. They're not living in the shadow of one developer. They're all working together to prop up the series. This outlook from Sparth is something that I really do agree with, and it's an incredibly healthy one. And it shows in this cutscene, a studio unafraid to just simply make Halo. I am a bit disappointed that we didn't get to see any proper gameplay, but that's kind of to be expected since Halo Infinite isn't this year and it needs to take a backseat to Gears of War 5, but the taste of the story that we got has only energized me further. I want to see more in the future, and I'm really excited about the release date next year, hoping that the gameplay is good. And so here's to hoping that we see more in the future, and let me know what you think in the comments section below.